So, Bose, congrats on the new book, Urgent Life. Get me
Yes.
inside. What does it mean to live an urgent life? I love the title, by the way.
Oh,
What does that
thank you.
mean
Thank
to
you.
you?
Ooh, an urgent life. I think sometimes we think it's about like speed. Let me get through this thing. Let me just get to the next thing.
Mm,
And look,
hmm
if you know anything about my career or the places I've done, like the place I've been and the things I've done, it may feel that way. That like maybe I'm moving recklessly, maybe I'm
mm,
moving spontaneously, like I don't have a care and just like, oh, I'm done with this. Now on to that. I'm done with that. Now on to this. It's like, but that's not it. For me, the urgent
hmm
life is about intention,
hmm
knowing when I want to do something and then doing that thing. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? Like
Ah,
not
right,
making
right, right, right.
excuses, not, thinking like, oh, you know what? I think I'll wait for 6 months to do the thing that I really want to do right this very minute.
Hmm
Because why? I'm waiting for somebody
Right,
else's approval. I'm waiting for
right,
somebody else to tell me that, like, oh, that's a good idea. All of those
right.
things are what most of the time keep us from like jumping when you're supposed to jump, like actually following your
Hmm
destiny. So for me, the
hmm
urgent life is that. It's like, how am I moving in this life in a way that
mm.
benefits me, in a way that is intentional, and in a way that is going to ultimately serve my higher purpose?
Tell me your relationship with joy and loss.
It's the relationship between like grief and joy. Well, you know, I don't feel like joy is a passive thing, or it's like a thing that is out here and then you're sitting back and waiting for it to find you. You know what I mean?
You're right,
Like
right, 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 right.
it's just that's not how joy works. You know,
Hmm
joy doesn't just like happen upon you. I kind of feel that way about a lot of the emotions, like love
hmm hmm
or like, energy,
hmm
stamina, like all
Yeah.
kind of things that feels like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and wait for it to come to me.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
gotta
that's
come
not
from
how
the
it works.
inside out, right?
Nah, for sure. You have to choose it. You have to
Yep.
decide that's what you're going to have. And then you have to go and get it.
Mhm.
So even when you
Mhm.
think that like, oh, well, you know what, only if this situation happened, then I will be joyful. It's like, no, no,
Mhm.
no. It's like, I have to actually instigate that joy. I have to plant the seed of joy and then it will
Mhm.
blossom into real joy.
Mhm.
So my relationship between like loss and joy is that it's a choice that I have made. Now, look, like we said, we're going to tell the whole truth, okay? There
Mhm.
are many days, even still, when I wake up and I'm just like, fuck the joy.
Mhm.
Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
I just
Yeah.
want to be mad today. I want to
Uh-huh.
be sad
Uh-huh.
today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to bathe. I want to brush my teeth today, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And those days
Mhm.
exist. And so I won't pretend as if
Mhm.
like every day I'm like, ooh, yes, like, happy, happy,
Right.
joy, joy. Let me go chase
Right.
it today.
Yeah.
There are lots
Yeah.
of days when I'm just like, oh no, see, I don't feel like doing that today. But the point is that when I am in that moment where I'm wondering, well, where in the hell is joy at? When
Right.
that moment comes, because
Yeah.
we all have that. It's like when you feel
Sure.
really bad about yourself or like something's going on, you laying down. And as soon as that thought comes that says, like, oh, well, where is it at? When am I gonna feel better? Ooh, baby. When you feel that, that's your signal. That is the
Mhm.
call from your spirit that says, hey, get up, go get that
Mhm.
joy.
Go. Yep.
Because there
Yep.
are
Yep.
lots of times when you're just laying there and there's not a thought in your mind about that, right? You're just laying there or sitting there and just like, I'm just gonna sit here. But
Mhm.
that moment for me, when I think like, oh, I'm so tired of this. Like when is love gonna find me? When is joy gonna
Mhm.
find me? When am I gonna be happy? That's
Mhm.
that's that's when I know. That's my signal. Girl, you better go. Go and get that
Yep.
joy. Don't sit here and wait for it. It won't find you over here in the darkness.
Mhm.
Joy doesn't come
Right.
find you in darkness. That's not where joy
Right.
belongs. So that means you got to step out into the light, step out into some sunshine, and then joy will,
Mhm.
will come to
Mhm.
you there. Joy is not going to come
How
to
do
you
you
in darkness.
What's your process around recovery? Right? I
Mm,
mean, you've had a
mm,
lot of stuff
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
You've had s I
yeah,
mean, your career is we gotta get to that, right? Because that's just unbelievable.
yeah.
But h how have you how what do you have a process at
Mm,
some level to
mm,
shift your mindset
mm,
to
mhm,
joy,
mhm,
to
mhm.
recovery, to showing back up? I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first and foremost, I only listen to myself.
Mm.
Like, and I realize that that sounds strange. So I just said I get therapy. um, But I think that's actually what therapy teaches you, is this like self-reliance and
Mhm.
being able to self-soothe as if you were a baby, or being
Mhm. Mhm.
self-aware about what is happening around you so that you can avoid the triggers that will lead you down a bad path, right? Like
Yep,
all of the
yep,
things
yep.
that we learn are about self. And so oftentimes it's like, when anything happens, whether it's, an opportunity that I'm going to go take over here or
Mhm.
it is, a bad spot that I'm in, I rely on myself to listen to myself,
Mm.
to
Mhm.
understand what it is that I need, not what
Mm.
somebody else is trying to tell me I need.
Right,
That's
right,
the,
right.
that's just the bad way to do things,
Yeah.
because
Sure.
how do they know? They've never been
Right,
where you're at.
right,
Even if they have
right.
suffered the exact same loss that you've suffered or been in the same trauma that you've been, there's we are such unique
Mhm.
individuals that no
Yep, yep.
two set of circumstances are ever alike. So why would you think that they would know how to heal you
Mhm.
or how to help
Mhm.
you, or how to
Mhm.
bring you out of your darkness? So
Mhm.
my process has been so much more about how to consider myself in that exact moment of what I need, because it also
Mm.
shifts and changes between
Yep,
things, right?
yep,
It's like
yep,
one thing, like let's pretend the same two things happen to me back to back. I can guarantee you that the recovery process is going to be different
yep,
with the two.
yep. Okay.
So
Sure.
so really, I think that the only thing I can say about this, right, is that I've had to really hone the practice of listening to myself and what do
Mhm.
I need right now.
What advice do you give women who are navigating their careers? They want to lead. They want to lead at the highest level.
Hmm.
What is your advice to women,
Yeah,
all women at any level,
yeah,
that want to
yeah.
continue to progress in their career?
Yes. Well, the number one piece of advice I always give is that you are already in a leadership position, regardless of where you are in the
Mhm.
company, in your career. You are already in a leadership position. The question is like, how are you actually using it?
Mhm.
How are you,
Mhm.
to the point about muscle building? How are you
Yeah.
building the
Yeah.
muscle of leadership wherever you
Yeah.
are? Start now. Don't wait for
Yep.
the title, because by the
Yeah.
time the
Yeah.
title comes, you'll be so weak.
Right.
Like
Right. Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
sure there are people who've experienced weak bosses, who've
Yeah.
experienced weak leadership. Yeah, guess what? They didn't start their leadership until they got the title. And then here they are
Mhm.
trying to pretend
Mhm.
and flex. They can't even
Yep.
flex because they don't have no
Yeah.
muscle, you
Yeah.
know?
You're
So
right.
the leadership begins right now. So it
Mhm.
means that, like, look, there is often in corporate spaces, you talk about alignment, right? And
Mhm.
getting people
Mhm.
on board
Mhm.
with your idea. But start that now.
Sure. Yep.
Leadership is that. It's not like you just get to the top and you're like, this is the way we're going, and then everybody
Yeah.
follows you.
Right.
No, you still have to get people on board. You still have
Yeah.
to make people believe you and feel like, oh
Mhm.
yes, I want to follow this person. Well, you do that
Mhm.
because you have
Mhm.
already gathered enough support that they are going to come
Mhm.
with you. And so
Yep.
that's why leadership begins wherever you're at. So it's like, oh, okay, if you're working on a team, you have no direct reports, but you're working on a team. How is it that you're influencing other people to see your position or to help you with your
Mhm.
project? Or how are you helping
Mhm.
other people with their things? That's the way you build leadership. And so by the time you are ready to actually get into the next position or get into that next title, you've already amassed a lot of training. You are a
Yep.
stronger leader
Yep.
because of it. And to
Yep.
me, it's like, look, there are other obstacles in the way, as we talked about, things that happen to you and
Yep.
not of
Yep.
your
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
doing. Look,
Yep.
we know the glass ceiling and the broken rung and all the
Yep.
other,
Yep.
analogies
Yep.
that we want to use. And those all exist. But the point is
Mhm.
that, like, if you aren't ready for leadership because you haven't
Mhm.
built that muscle, by the
Yep.
time that rung gets fixed or you swing to that next one, you skip one, or
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
crash through that
Right.
glass ceiling, you won't be ready for it anyway and you will fall.
Mhm.
So the point
Mhm.
is that leadership begins right now. Wherever you're at, that's where it begins.
Why do you think it's so important to not shy away from ambitions? Right? Like
Mm,
to not, because to me
yeah,
there's a, what you're not saying don't be content, right? You're not
yeah,
saying don't sit
no,
outside and have a glass of wine and be comfortable with who you are and
yeah,
content from time to time.
yes,
But what you're
yes.
saying is I got one life and I'm going to get it going, right? It's
Oh
on.
yeah, 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 yeah. By the way,
It's
Mo, I
awesome.
think I think that there's like room for both things. You know, Look,
Yeah,
I
for
am
sure.
absolutely satisfied with my life. I am so
Yeah.
content. Like,
Yep.
really, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not. The ambition
Yeah.
to me is not about like filling what is missing. It is only about
Right.
amassing an even
Ooh.
bigger opportunity, an even
Ooh,
bigger,
that's
like,
cool.
life. That's
Yeah.
all. Like, my life
Yeah.
is complete. I don't need
Right.
more things, but, like, I'm
Right.
looking at it and I'm just like, "Oh, man, like, I could color even more things." Like, that's the way I
Mhm.
see it. That's the way my
Mhm.
ambition is set up. I'm
Mhm.
definitely not trying to fill holes here. You know? Everything is full.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get
Yep.
a bigger glass, that's all.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
thing is
yeah.
that, like, I have, I I've actually been thinking about this lately. Well, there's 2 things. In my book, I use a Diane Ackerman quote to open the book. Um, and I'm gonna paraphrase it because I can't remember it exactly right now, word for word, but it's something like, "I wanna get to the end of my life and not just have lived the length of it. I want to have lived the
Mm,
width of it."
I
And I
love
think
it.
about that constantly, the width of life. Which is
Mhm.
that, like, look, do I
Yeah.
want to live to 100? Sure, but
Mhm.
it's like, I want those 100 years to be full,
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
those to, like, I want them to be bursting,
Yep,
with
yep, yeah, that's cool.
experiences and love and, like, people, and, like, I just want it to be bursting wide.
Mm,
So that is what I think of when I'm considering, like, oh, what is the next experience that I want, or like the satisfaction of life, or the ambition of life. I'm like, I'm trying to
mhm.
get the width of it, not just the
Yeah,
length of it. And so
yeah,
for
that's
me, it's
cool.
like when I think of that, it is why I can be satisfied in my life and still be ambitious.